to conduct on the 21st of April next month. And the process is already on. A lot of teachers are already registering, and we have seen a huge response from a lot of countries. Thousands of teachers have already registered for it. We are receiving their teaching pedagogies, their practices in the form of their lesson plans. And it has been a great experience, an overwhelming experience for the entire jury. So we have decided that till the time we conduct that event on 21st of April, we are going to conduct a series of these kind of webinars where we are going to pick up one topic each. And we have requested all our jury members to share their inputs so that the teachers can further go on strengthening their teaching skills, and they can make learning more fun. They can ensure all the best possible teaching strategies in their classrooms. And so let me just briefly introduce today's speakers to you all. And then one by one, I will be requesting each one of them to share their inputs. Before we will start with the speakers, I would request our co-founder and head certification, Dr. Kanan Sood, to explain the whole purpose behind this entire activity, why we have done this. So Dr. Kanan Sood is the one who is very, very passionate about teachers, their contribution, and what best we at COE we can go on doing for the teachers. So she keeps coming with brilliant ideas, and she has been heading our certification division. She is an exemplary person with a lot of experience, more than 4 decades of international experience. She's a master trainer. And there she is. Dr. Sood, I would just request you to give a brief introduction about this whole thing. What is this teachers transformation tech journey? The beautiful word that you have, in fact, you have named this whole event. So please, would you like to share that with all the participants?
Thank you so much, Aarti. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
And a very good evening to my entire fraternity in the same time zone. Good morning to those in the extreme west of the globe, and a very good afternoon to the esteemed educators in the Greenwich zone. Aarti, your introduction is really very humbling, and I wonder if I really deserve that. For a few of you who were just listening to this nice voice, the beautiful voice, the very, very sweet voice, is an award-winning entrepreneur woman of 2021. She's Miss Aarti Khosla, who is also the founder, the brain and the CEO of COE International. And she represents our country at the ISO Tech Committee 232. She is an exemplary person with lots of achievements. If I start listing those, I think we'll run out of time, and she's going to say, oh, you took away all the time. Anyways, without much ado about the pleasantries and things like that, I would like to mention at the first instance that COE International is the first ever organization to celebrate the efforts, hard work, perseverance to deliver, ensuring of continuous learning, and technologically traveling forward by our very own teachers across the globe in such unprecedented times, in the form of global awards for virtual learning and planning, which we call Teachers Transformational Tech Journey. I hope you do connect to that. It has been a technological journey for all of us. Yes, it has been a very different year. As Aarti just mentioned, we are now looking at different models of teaching and delivering, and probably we are now doing a lot of self-reflection, which in the course of the next 1 hour, we will be discussing about what to do best, what not to do, how to improvise, and things like that. So at COE, we decided to provide this opportunity to all our teachers. All, when I say in uppercase ALL, pre-K to grade 8, all levels, all kinds of schools, urban, rural, remote, anywhere. If you have delivered a virtual lesson. And if you have been a teacher in the last 1 year, taught virtually, you have a plan, I'm sure, and you have done a good job. So here's an opportunity that we are going to provide, and don't miss it. Let me tell you, we have a very, very special occasion for you on 21st of April, which Aarti has already mentioned. And we will be awarding the best of best. Of course, all participants will be definitely acknowledged in whatever form, that participation certificates, of course. And here's an opportunity for you to have your work evaluated by a very experienced jury and share what you've done best, your best practices with the entire fraternity. And above all, win an award for it, for all your efforts, right? When we're talking of lesson planning, we all have a range of making one with different subheads, titles, nomenclatures, whatever. But we all have one thing in common, and that is the plan. We all plan. Even when we have to do a little thing at home, we do in our minds plan. We don't leave it to just get on to the job. We do run a small schedule in our heads. And definitely when you're going to teach young minds, you do plan. And I'm sure you've all done it well. So we all agree we must and we all try to adhere to that plan as far as possible. And if I talk of the Gestalt theory, a German word which says that it's a way of placing things, how you put things together. So the attributes of the whole are not deducible from analysis of the parts in isolation, right? So here we are. We are now going to talk of that little plan that you have delivered. And here is your opportunity to share this plan on our portal, on our website, which we have created, or you need to just go over it. And during the course of the evening today, we will also go over the steps, how you need to register, how you need to upload, and things like that. And of course, as Aarti ma'am just mentioned, you will be also understanding and talking to other panelists who will give you a lot of insight on what exactly do you need in your plan. And if you have it, here you are, right? And I must mention here that we are all aware of the challenges faced by you with regard to your planning. It has not been an easy job over the last 1 year. The several technological hiccups you have faced at each end, the range of tools everybody's suggesting, use this, you try this, why don't you do this, and their appropriateness to your particular content. So the decisions have not been easy. It's been a tough time for all of us, but we have done it. We are there. And this is the time that we need to be recognized. We need to be celebrated. We need to be awarded for that little effort at a larger platform. And here's that platform, the global awards, right? And above all, the biggest challenge has been the constant parental involvement, right? All these together, and they have all these challenges. Let me tell you, you grow stronger with every problem that you have solved. You don't grow stronger just because you've eaten the vitamins, right? No, you grow stronger mentally when you have the vitamin H with you. And I'm talking of vitamin happiness. And happiness comes from what you do best. And so if you have done your best, here it is. Here you are. And this is where you have got the confidence. You've developed a new self-confidence. You have enhanced your creative skills. You are infused with innovation, and you have instilled your learners with innovative mindsets. So prove yourself. Here it is. And COE feels the need to celebrate these efforts of yours, congratulate you, and award you. And here again, I reiterate, here's the platform to make yourself a leader in the process of planning a lesson to be delivered virtually. So if you've done it, please, please come forward and participate. I'm sure you will agree with me that with this new normal now, we educators need to be a little more proactive to learn from each other the best possible strategies, activities, tools for assessments, and anything else which will add value to my learners or to our learners from each other. Particularly when now educational institutions, as Aarti ma'am just mentioned, that we are probably looking at a hybrid mode. And it's a very unpredictable situation though. So, but we are looking at that kind of a mode. So this is the time to get our act together and learn from each other and share with each other our best experiences, best practices. And to clarify any of these doubts that might have entered your mind regarding this teacher's transformational tech journey, we have with us a panel of experts who will give you a very clear insight into the concept behind the Global Awards for virtual learning and planning. You've heard of global awards for film stars, global awards for entrepreneurs, global awards for industry. Here it is. I think you haven't heard this. Global awards for virtual learning and planning. I'm sure that after you understand the nature of this competition, you will just want to rush and register yourself for it immediately. I will hand over to Aarti and then see you in a bit. Aarti?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sood. Thank you for sharing this overview of the whole program, the event, the whole concept. And I'm already charged up. I'm already motivated. I wish I were a teacher and I would have instantly gone for it. Because this, what you just shared, it really sounds so motivating and so positive. Because as a teacher, I would certainly want to know, how can I make my teaching better? So we have a pool of experts, we have a panel who can share their valuable feedback with the teachers. Whether you win or you don't win, you still get to know where you are. So it's a good chance for all the teachers. Okay, let me quickly introduce the panel members who are there with us today. I begin with Miss Jyoti Ahuja. Jyoti is an educationist with over 4 decades of teaching English across different educational boards, CBSE, IGCSE, and IB. She's been involved in laying down the innovative teaching techniques in leading schools across the country. Thank you so much, Jyoti, for sparing your time today. And then we have Miss Indu Paruthi. Indu has been a pillar. Indu has been a great support at COAE. She is one of the senior assessors. She is an educator with more than 3 decades of experience in school academic leadership roles. She's a trainer, she's an author. Thank you, Indu, for being with us. And you play a big role today because there'll be a lot of questions. And please, you are the one who has to ensure that we don't miss out any valuable question on the YouTube chat. Thank you so much. We have Ms. Sheila Ramakrishnan with us. Sheila is from Hyderabad. Sheila has more than 4 decades of experience. She's committed, a thorough professional. She's a counselor, she's an author, she's equipped with the professional certifications from UK, USA, Malaysia, Thailand, and I am sure a lot of other places. Thank you, Sheila. Thanks for being with us today. Next, we have a very young and talented educationist, Miss Sonal Ravi Andrews. Again, another one from Hyderabad. Sonal, don't go by her age. She has already achieved a lot in her life. She's highly experienced. She's a teacher trainer and a leadership award winner. In fact, she's the happiness ambassador. And she is also the founder director of the Integrated Preschool Teachers Training Academy at Hyderabad. So Sonal, we are looking forward to have a lot of valuable insights from you. And last but not the least, we have Miss Geeta Nath. Geeta is another highly accomplished educationist. She's been heading the English department at the APJ School, Noida, for more than 20 years. And then for about 4 years, she was the principal of APJ Greater Noida. And her journey doesn't stop, and I think it would never stop. So last 18 years, constantly Geeta has been working in the e-learning industry, and she continues to create and manage content in English for various digital platforms. Thank you so much for being here with us, Geeta. Thanks a lot. So that's our panel. And I would request each one of you to share your views on what an effective lesson plan is. We are talking about lesson plan, which is a very small component of the entire teaching learning process, yet the most important one. There's a saying, no, if you are given a task to cut a tree in half an hour, you must spend more than 4 hours in sharpening your axe. Though we don't cut trees anymore, but it's just that the saying goes like that. So planning is the key aspect of an effective teaching learning. So Sonal, can I begin with you? You have witnessed this transformation happening. You have seen how from offline we've moved completely to an online structure. So though we don't know what is going to be the future of our classrooms now, nobody is very sure of it. But yes, the teachers are quite prepared. Teachers are quite prepared to face whatever situation come may. So would you like to share, Sonal? You've been a part of this industry, you have already seen a lot of things happening. So what kind of transformation you've seen from offline to online?
Thank you so much, Aarti ma'am, for making me a part of this panel. If you had asked an educator in January 2020 about technology and screen time, they would squirm and they would say, "What are you talking about? This is not good." But within, a couple of months, March arrived and scenario changed. The Black Swan event happened. Children were not coming to teacher, and teacher decided to reach out to children. Every educator, every educational institute decided if they wanted their learners to learn a different scenario, they will have to make a different and innovative choices without compromising on the quality of education. All this sounds extremely nice to say, revolutionary it sounds, but it was not easy. Teachers who love teaching teach children to love learning. And in this process, our educators really took a leap, and from last year to now they have become absolutely pro. They decided that their lesson plan, their concept delivery has to change drastically, and they needed to create a credible learning opportunity for their student. Now what do I mean by credible here? C is chance, or an opportunity to redesign the entire learning approach. R, to make it relevant, relevance of concept and activity. The objectives had to change drastically. I could not have my children in the class. I could not talk about so much of peer interaction to begin with. So I needed to change my learning objective drastically. E for essential needs of children at different stages and ages. Depending on the age of the child, the need of the subject deliverance, the standard that they were studying in, we designed the pattern of syllabus, or we designed the timetable for them again. D for development and discovering of new resources. Suddenly, my flashcards that I had made, or for say revolving and rotating, I actually brought out children in front of the class and made the whole concept easy. Now I couldn't do that. So I had to reinvent things now. I for interactive and integrating methods, where different disciplines, subjects, or the themes had to come under one umbrella. Time was challenging, but developmental aspects were not. We needed to do a lot of justice to that. B for blended learning, whether as an educator I am delivering online or pre-recording my videos, audios, making my PPTs, it was all blended again. The most importantly, L for lateral thinking. Now I'm not just teacher and having a pupil. I'm also thinking about the technology, the internet, the facility, the the mobile or the laptop that the child is having, I am having. parents present in the classroom now. So my entire idea of constructing lesson plan, I have to keep all the stakeholders in my perception. Finally, E, enjoy and be efficient. I had to learn while teaching. Again, on my job, I had to watch them enjoying what I was delivering. As an educator, I have seen lots of teachers delivering goods, and their efficiently delivering these goods made children, motivated to come and attend the next class. And that is what was most important change that we saw. That teachers, instead of worrying about how will I look, how will I speak, they crossed the line and they went beyond with their passion, their hard work, their efforts. So they were really credible to take up this challenge. They planned so well, they learned new tricks and techniques, they redefined their learning ability, their teaching ability, though they had to face lots of challenges in terms of what is management going to say, what is parent expecting out of us. Parents had their own limitation, timings, budget, all those things were in place. But as an educator, teething scares were definitely there. Preparing a lesson plan, we reduce the syllabus suddenly. Now we don't have previous knowledge as a background. My bond with children has changed a little bit. That emotional bond I had to create online, and that was a task. I didn't have a classroom facility. It was a home environment where there was a cooker whistle going in the background, and there's a little baby crying in the background, and I still had to grasp the attention of the child. Technical glitches might happen. Parental involvement, as I mentioned earlier, was part of the lesson plan. I've seen so many of lesson plan where parents were bringing the resource or making life simpler for teacher. Also making sure covering different learning styles, developing spice, that is social, physical, intellectual, cognitive, emotional, communicational skills, making sure that these aspects are taken care even in the reduced syllabus, to introduce the concept in a way that attention is not going away. The child is in comfort zone at home, but as a teacher, how can I grasp the attention? And that was very interesting, how every teacher came up with new activity, new set of ideas, innovated their old learning, old knowledge into the new way. They revamped, they rejuvenated, redesigned. Peer interaction was missing, but parental involvement was increased, and lots of teachers made use of this. And now it was not only child friendly but also parent friendly and time friendly. So dear educator, I know you were passionate, efforts of planning and executing was credible. I have a humble request that participate today, as you are incredible. Today is the day to tell the world about these new skills that you use with your past knowledge and experience. Your efforts deserve appreciation, and COAE is offering you one to display which approach work in your class incredibly. So thank you, Aarti ma'am. I'll stop at this, and I hope it helps the teacher to understand that they have already nailed it.
Yes, Sonal, certainly. Thank you so much. And I simply loved your abbreviation credible and how beautifully you explained the word credible. So a clear message to the teachers what we are looking at. So when your lesson plans reach our jury, there are a particular aspects that are going to play a critical role. We would like to know how you transformed your pedagogies. So from what Sonal just shared, I would like to come to Sheila with a similar question. Sheila, you've been in this industry, you've seen a lot of teachers, how their pedagogies have been affected to a great extent. There were no students in front of you.
Absolutely.
As Sonal mentioned, there was a lot of noise in the background. Parents are constantly watching you. You know, there are a lot of technical glitches that you're facing. There was so much, so much. Initially, teachers were finding it difficult, but then gradually, I think I've been speaking to more than thousands of teachers in the last 6 months, and my only question is how comfortable you are with it. And they say, "Oh, we are loving it." They're loving it because they've been able to experiment so much. They've been able to simply stretch their own boundaries. So much of learning has happened. So, Sheila, what is your take on whatever has happened so far? What has been the impact of this pandemic on the pedagogies per se?
Yeah, uh, Aarti, I have, thank you so much again, and good evening to all of you. Always a pleasure to participate in COE discussions because they are so enriching, and they really push us to think further. One of the things that we can thank COVID for is, I think, the entire educational system, right from the policy, the education policy of 2005, which was talking about activity-based learning and moving away from chalk and talk and rote. It required a shake-up like this for the entire system because the community, either there was no support from the leadership to change, or sometimes there was no willingness from the teaching community to change, either willingness or ability, as the case may be. But the one thing that COVID demonstrated is that educators are limited only by their own limitations. I mean, they transformed, they changed, and they innovated. And how? I mean, as you said, when the pandemic started, all of a sudden there was no classroom, there were no blackboards, there were no kids in front. There was no textbook. There was no way of even checking whether the children had the textbooks or not, right? And it was in these circumstances that teachers worked. And so I would say that gradually, uh, the pandemic influence on pedagogy has been largely more positive than negative because it pushed all of us to change. And for once, there was no leadership because leadership was behind for a change. They were not ahead. Educators were in front. They were the front runners. They led the leaders, right? So hats off to the teachers, to the entire teaching community who did this. And actually, this celebration, as you have already heard, is for you. So if some of what we are discussing now resonates, right, then please submit your lesson plans, right? And what are those things which changed? I would say, uh, for one, there was no classroom. So the teacher suddenly had a situation where she had let's say 30 or 40 homes as a classroom. So there were different classrooms, and she was delivering the same content. That was a challenge. And we have seen innumerable, beautiful examples of how teachers overcame that. They made their homes into classrooms. They gave the children a feel of classrooms, and yet took into account that children were learning in different environments. Suddenly, they were not sharing the same space. There is a certain kind of uniformity that comes into play when children share space in a classroom. That was suddenly missing. So the teacher had to take into account. So differentiation, which we talk about a lot, but sometimes we think of it as just catering to children who don't meet minimum learning levels, or what we call children with varied abilities or disabilities. But suddenly differentiation took on a different meaning. It took on a meaning of reaching every child, not just the child who was a slow learner, but also the child who was gifted, because to sustain his attention was very tough. And we all know, under the ISO 21000 audit, which we all do, that ISO has categorized differentiation or as not just children who are below minimum learning levels, but also the gifted. So teachers took to this very naturally because there was no other way out. So that was a movement towards quality that was happening, right? I think the other single most important part was actually delivering the lesson. There was an initial struggle. Some were doing synchronous, some were doing asynchronous, right? Some were doing recorded PPT, some were doing video. I mean, there was all kinds of struggle. Some teachers actually just kind of kept the textbook in front and then tried to mimic a regular classroom. But then every learning has its curve, right? So we quickly realized that, that's not going to work in this scenario. So I think what as educators we've been working on for a long time, move away from the textbook and focus on the content and focus on the concept. The content is immaterial, right? So there was limited time because the timetable changed. The number of virtual hours they got was very limited. So suddenly teachers also had to look at curriculum, right? Is it just completions of syllabus? No, it couldn't be just completion of syllabus. It had to be curriculum, right? I had to tailor my curriculum. If I had to cut and snip and chop and throw, which I did not have the freedom to do earlier, this was the time to do it, right? So there was a lot of deep thinking and deep reflection on how to approach the curriculum. The other fabulous thing that happened was that uh, this was an opportunity for teachers to collaborate because technology made it easy. Suddenly, WhatsApp group and Facebook groups and everything sprung up. Not just kids, but teachers were in touch. So what we have been talking about for a long time in the education policy, that there needs to be cross-curricular integration of material, which was so long not possible because teachers wouldn't get the time to have a meeting together to decide what to teach. Now, suddenly, the virtual world became a beautiful community. It became a wonderful classroom. And teachers could have long and beautiful discussion about, okay, I will do this chapter and you take this concept and extend it in your class. So the child was suddenly getting project-based learning, problem-based learning, multidisciplinary approach. All of that happened naturally. It happened very organically, right? The other one, I would say, was also the shift in moving from pedagogy as such, what we call pedagogy, which is just method, moving towards pedagogy, which is to help the child to understand his or her own needs. Out of every adversity comes something good. So while the whole system, we had always been craving for family time and people being together, parents not spending time with their children, these were all common refrains that we heard. But now suddenly we found the whole family, right? So, sometimes it was too much family time. And there have been cases where, and we've all heard of how that has been a other side of COVID, right? That all our emotional resilience has suddenly come into play. Teachers had to, many of them actually became friends to their children and to their students. So the social emotional learning component that we were struggling to integrate, the values, the life skills, the attitudes, all of that we kept saying, how can we integrate it? Time hi nahi hai. We have no time in the timetable to do formal teaching of all these things. But this again, teachers did it beautifully because it grew organically. Not just not just the children and the parents, but the educators themselves were under tremendous stress because apart from doing all this, they allowed parents to invade their privacy into their homes because the classes were at homes, right? And they had to run their homes themselves. There was no physical distance for the educator. Many times we all know, as women or even as men, right? The physical boundary of getting out of the house to go and work affords a kind of mental rejuvenation. That was lost entirely. But then it got converted because both teachers and children and parents suddenly got bound in some kind of empathy. I know that in the beginning of the pandemic, parents were very critical. They used to look in on classes, the teachers were judged. But I think within a few months, when parents started spending more time with their own children, and the onus of learning actually shifted. For the lower grades, no longer was the teacher available. She could just be a dispenser. And the onus came on to the parents to ensure that that learning continued. It was probably only in the higher classes that the onus of learning shifted from teacher to student. But still up to the middle school, parents became very active partners. And that was again something that schools were struggling for. We would not get parents to partner with the school in such an active manner, in a non-critical way. If at all the partnership happened, many times it would happen in a critical way, which puts the teacher in a very odd position. But I think after that phase passed, parents became more empathetic. They understood that, teachers have gone out of their way, totally out of their way, to innovate and to bring in all these components into the learning system. So to me, it looks like I'm coming to the technology challenge towards the end. But if I look at all these aspects of pedagogy, which is how do you deliver, what method do you use, how do I reach every child, right? Have I integrated social emotional learning, life skills, and values into my lesson, right? Given that I'm conducting an online class, is there a happy, healthy space for the parent to participate if they need to be, right? I'm sure there are hundreds of lesson plans out there that have already achieved this. Maybe if teachers looked at it a little more critically, they would see that they've already done it. They may not be aware of it, but they've done it because the shift now is so visible. Everybody is comfortable. Barring the technology issue, the divide which separates the urban and the haves and the have-nots, that part of the digital divide has been exposed very, very strongly during the pandemic. And I think a lot of corporates and NGOs are coming forward to bridge that divide for government schools and for the children in underprivileged backgrounds. So we do have children now from government schools, from NGOs who are taking their classes on their phone, or some corporates have decided to donate tablets in a large scale along with the data plan. I think that is something we as a country who are a lot more privileged need to look at. How do we bridge this divide? Because the digital divide has been exposed, right? After doing all this methodology, teachers now had to look for tools, right? And if ever there was a time, we had ed tech has been in India for some time now, let's say for the last 10, 15 years. But it's largely been focused on content that has been created externally, digitized, and then given to the schools or given to the institutions to roll out. It was not organically coming from inside, right? So when we have now been taken by surprise, there has been no option, but teachers have been chasing technology to look at what are the tools I can use, what is effective, what works, what doesn't work. But I really feel that the way we have gone and the way our educators have displayed their innovative abilities, I'm talking about teachers who have been 40, 50, 60, who never even had an email ID, right? And they have had
Yeah,
to deliver a virtual class. So
so
I
true.
feel a day will come that tech will chase teachers and say, you tell us what you want, and
Yes.
we will make it for you.
Certainly, certainly.
So
And you are so right. Initially, teachers used to look for the appropriate tools, and now there's no dearth.
yeah.
Teachers know so much. They know so much. I'm so thankful to you, Sheila, and thankful to everyone. The way you all are sharing your inputs, your insights, it is so motivating and so encouraging for the teachers. So we are not sharing any new knowledge, I believe. What we are just trying to do is whatever the teachers have done in the last 1 year. I'm not saying before that we were not doing it. Teachers were actually, we've been putting efforts, and India, as we all know, is supposed to be the education leader. So it's not without the efforts of our teachers. But currently, the kind of efforts that teachers are putting in, it's certainly remarkable. We are immensely proud of the efforts of the teachers, and this is what we all are trying to celebrate. We are all trying to recognize those efforts. So as Sheila, you've already mentioned about the tech tools. Yeah, you are so right. EdTech has always been there, and EdTech is an integral part of our complete education system. Now in the times to come, we will have to go on upgrading ourselves. Jyoti, in the same context, you have been working with a lot of schools. Initially, teachers were facing a lot of challenges, but now, specifically with regards to assessments. So, when you're teaching in the class using lots of technological tools, home assignments, everything is being handled through tools. But at the same time, it's difficult for the teachers to know as to at what level they've been able to achieve the learning outcomes. So, how have the assessments been implemented in an effective manner through the use of technology? Would you like to share something on that?
Yeah, definitely, Aarti. I totally agree with you about the change scenario. Like Sheila put across very, very clearly how drastically the scenario has changed from the physical classroom right to a virtual classroom. And it's indeed very remarkable to note how the teachers have risen to the occasion, not only the youngsters and the regular teachers, but even the traditional teachers who couldn't think beyond the physical classroom, like me and the students, and that's it. I mean, that was their world. They have also kind of they have gone deep into the technological tools and actually extracted the resources which they could use to implement their lessons. And I observed a few classes recently, and it was amazing to see the passion at display. I mean, I was absolutely spellbound to see the traditional teachers with so much of passion engaging the students, with a fault here and there, which was very, very wonderful to see. In fact, the way they were learning and getting across to the students. And now technology, of course, is a very, very vast field, and there are so many tools and techniques that are available. The flat platforms, I mean, I'm addressing the teachers now who are viewing this program. You are so familiar with the various platforms, be it Zoom, be it GoToMeeting, be it Microsoft Teams, or be it Google Meet. You are so familiar with the platforms. And on those platforms, you are equally familiar with the tools like, I mean, like the virtual, the digital whiteboard has replaced the actual whiteboard in the classroom. And I'm sure you're all aware of the PowerPoint presentations, the videos, the prezis, and the TED Talks, and the Padlets, the e-chapters, etc., that you all have used. Now, all these tools are very, very familiar to you. I'm sure you're able to relate to all this. This is as far as the implementation of the lesson plan is concerned. Now, coming, Aarti, specifically to what your question posed regarding the assessments. Now, assessment is an ongoing process. Like in a physical classroom, we are assessing each student from moment to moment. From the twitch of a finger or the movement of an arm, we can know what the mind of the child is, what the child is thinking. Now, in a virtual classroom, it's difficult to do that, but not impossible. By insisting on the switching on of the cameras, etc., a perpetual challenge for the teachers. But yes, assessments go on from day to day, firstly by the observation in the classroom itself, by noting down the reactions and the responses of the students, and using tools and techniques like Mentimeter, which is now such a common technique which the teachers have as a handy tool. Then for formative assessments, there are things like, answering a question on the virtual class notebook. Again, teachers have researched into that initially, but now they are very, very well versed with it. Again, I repeat my same statement that the teachers who are listening at the moment are very, very familiar with what I'm saying, and they can relate to it very easily. And I'm sure you have already incorporated these into your lesson plans. What about the Microsoft Forms, the multiple choice quizzes that are there available over there? What about the group activities which you have, planned out by allowing, much to the glee of the students, the use of the WhatsApp groups so that they can, plan their activities. Earlier, the cell phone was forbidden, but now it's used to plan out a particular activity. What about Kahoot? What about Pixton, the Quizlet? These are all handy tools. And of course, for the summative assessments, writing the answers to test questions and then sending the teachers the scanned copies. Of course, a little traditional, but well, we cannot let go of the traditions completely. It's on the basis of the traditions that we proceed further in an efficient manner. Not only are these the formative assessment which you just mentioned, which you just asked about, I would also like to throw light upon a few strategies that the teachers have used. How many of you, I'm sure most of you, have flashed the agenda of your class before the class actually began, so that the children are, well prepared for what exactly they are going into, what exactly are they going to be faced with for the next 40 minutes or 50 minutes. then you have been very, very effective. I'm again addressing the teachers who are viewing the program, the educators. You have been very, very efficient in engaging your learners online with multifarious activities, a supportive learning environment, a mix of various learning tools, not just one day in and day out, but you've been putting on your thinking caps and using various tools and techniques so that the children don't fall off asleep. What about the ongoing feedback that you've been given? Some of the teachers have actually been giving a daily or maybe a weekly written write-up on each child, maybe burning the midnight oil and doing that. Why? So that the child reads that personal note and is up and about, oh, the teacher thought this about me. I must rise up to the expectation of that teacher. So these are the various ways that the teachers have faced the challenges, and keeping a plan B ready. What if my PPT doesn't open up? Oh my God, I must think of an alternative. I cannot be ashamed in front of my students. So, I mean, I really applaud the efforts that you all have put in. And I'm sure you've already put in that effort. Many of your lesson plans are there ready. So what are you waiting for? I mean, just go and kind of register yourselves, and that's it. Be available for the global awards in this teacher's transformational tech journey. This is my earnest request to all of you who are very, very earnest educators viewing this program. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jyoti. You were so precise and so appropriate. You've shared. So before I move on to Geeta, I have been requesting you all to post your questions in the chat box on YouTube. Indu, can you please help me out with that? Do we have any question?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Yeah, sorry, Aarti ma'am, for cutting you short. Good evening, everybody. We are actually flooded with the questions, and I really don't know how are we going to manage so many questions. So I'll start from the end and go over to the top.
So just give us any one question which you feel Geeta will be able to answer.
Okay, great. So we have Prasanna here. She has a question. What is the meaning of self-reflection? And I think that is a forte of Geeta. So I think it can go to her. And then we will start with the rest of the questions because there are quite a few of them.
Perfect. I think very well timed. So Geeta, question for you. Self-reflection, not only for teachers, I think for every human being, it's very, very important for us to know where we are. So in a regular classroom, it's very easy. We see the face of our children. If they're happy, we know we've taught well. If they come up with questions, we know they're thinking out of the box. But with virtual teaching learning, it's been a challenge to have our own self-reflections and evaluate our own lesson plans. What is your take on this, Geeta? How have teachers been able to manage this? You need to unmute. No, can't hear you still. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. See, self-introspection or self-reflection is very, very important for all of us. And it has been. You cannot say that it happened only now, it wasn't there earlier. But this year can actually be, the last year can actually be called the year of self-reflection by teachers, when nearly all set practices that they actually had as a base had been set for a task. Right? So every class that they took, and it was not just one class that they took for a day, every class prompted them for some sort of a self-reflection so that the next class could be better than what it was. So every day they were actually, they're challenging their own standards and raising the benchmark of themselves. So then this year, if you see, has been a very constructive one for teachers, because if you see how they started, and I think some of our panelists have already talked about it, how they started a year back and now it's been a giant leap. They were fumbling with technology. There were parents who were critical. So all those obstacles and hurdles they have crossed, and now they have, and it's all because of self-reflection of the various strategies, the teaching methodologies and stuff that they've been able to manage. So self-reflection is extremely important for delivering, transacting any sort of information. All right. Now here, this particular platform, if you see, is a very, very vital tool for teachers. Now, here we're sharing the best practices And why are we sharing? So we can all remain in a cocoon and live ourselves. But the thing is, we want the maximum number of teachers to benefit, and through them, the maximum number of children to benefit. So the prime objective of this contest is to empower the teaching fraternity and to recognize the phenomenal innovations that have brought them together and to review their own strategies. So we've been thinking that there has been no appraisals, no reviews by teachers or coordinators. Now, this is the time to showcase, through this particular platform, you can showcase your talent. And talent in terms of the lesson planning. Now, lesson planning is a very vital thing, and without a properly thought of lesson plan, the best of teachers can fall flat. All right. So here we need to see how our self-reflection is helping us to improvise and improve upon the teaching strategies, and so that the children benefit and the learning outcome is improved. Now we have new tools and strategies for better learning. But self-realization has proved how to deal with the different learning styles and the learning environment. As I think Sheila talked about the different environment, every the learning environment is such that you have 30 students and 30 homes, and each child in a different place, because there are certain limitations that you have had, but the teachers have been better than that, and they've overcome all those obstacles that they face. And I guess self-reflection is all about this, because that is how you raise the bar. Anything else that I need to add, Arti?
No, I think you answered it very beautifully and you've summed it up so well. So we all understand it's going to be, it was already a challenge, but then teachers have actually picked it up very well. And the way they're working towards it, the way they are learning from their own mistakes, the way they are learning from what they are able to transact in the classroom. And the best part, what I have myself observed in a lot of classes in this 1 year is that students are sharing so much of feedback. Students are somehow feeling closer to the teacher now. They are not even seeing the teacher. The other day, a school had announced their end term results, and parents were given the results virtually. But the way teachers were sharing the feedback on every child, and the way parents were thanking the children, and they knew what the teachers had done with them in the class, it showed so much of involvement of each and every stakeholder. I was amazed to see that.
Teachers are becoming Atmanirbhar. Actually, if you see, teachers are becoming Atmanirbhar, Modiji's slogan, right?
So as I think all the panel members, they've highlighted it so well, why we are doing this program, why are we conducting this event. This is all for you teachers. This is your chance to show that you are a leader when it comes to teaching learning practice. Showcase your talent. Please let the world know what you are good at, and try and share your best practices with the others so that ultimately the learners can benefit. We are all ultimately working towards the learners' benefit to achieve the learning outcomes. And we are talking about the 21st century skills. We are talking about the new education policy. It's not easy. It's not easy. But I think in this 1 year, we have all proved that we can make anything happen. So it's the right platform to do it. I would like to request Indu if we have any questions that we can quickly take up. We are still left with around 5 to 7 minutes, so that I can see if I can answer myself, or I can give it to one of the panel members.
Okay, there is a question from Jion. She wants to know, I teach extracurricular subjects. May I participate in the competition?
Okay, great. So we have a special category for the extracurricular activities. Even if you are a teacher who's into the visual and performing arts, you're teaching SUPW, you're a physical education teacher, you are a French teacher. So whatever you are teaching, you are eligible to participate in this event. There is a special jury category award, which is going to go to these teachers. So you please feel free to submit your lesson plans.
Can I take the next question now?
Please.
Yeah, we have a question from Maganti. She wants to know, what is the evaluation criteria? And okay, we'll go with this and then we'll come to the next one.
Okay, great. So the lesson plan format is not visible to everybody on the website. It will be shared with the ones who are registering it. So the registration link we will share right away in the chat box. You can go register and then download the lesson plan format. But you should be very clear with the evaluation criteria. We are also sharing the link of our website where you can see very clear indications regarding everything, including the evaluation criteria. But still, I would request Dr. Sood, if you can quickly just go through those 4-5 parameters that we have very clearly laid down so that the teachers are aware.
Sure, Aarti, I'll do that. And speaking in particular about the evaluation criteria, it is in line with the lesson plan template that you will receive once you have registered, right? And it will cover the demonstration of learner-centered learning. That is, how have you involved and engaged your students online, of course, and how has the outcomes been effective? Are they in line with your lesson objectives? Have you been able to achieve those? What innovation did you undertake with your with regard to the delivery of the content, assessment, activities, anything, right? Anything, even integrating other subjects in your core subject, anything innovative. And let me just give you a hint here. Innovation always does not mean creating something new, right? And of course, the pedagogical skills that you have demonstrated, the assessment tool that you have used and its appropriateness. Was it really effective? Was it really worth it? Just because somebody told you to use Mentimeter, so you used it? No. Did you choose effectively? Did you really evaluate the pros and cons, and so on and so forth? Then, of course, as Sheila mentioned and Aarti also mentioned, and in line with the National Education Policy, differentiation. How have you undertaken to meet the needs of all learners in your class? And then, sorry?
Great.
Yeah.
I think you've shared it very clearly. And I would also request the team to please share the link for the evaluation criteria on the chat box on YouTube,
right,
so that you all can visit. Please do visit the webpage where we've explained the whole process along with the timelines. So if you are planning to register today itself, please immediately after the session, visit the website, look at the timelines, please do meet the deadlines. Once we receive all the lesson plans, then our evaluation starts. And also I would like to mention all the shortlisted candidates whose lesson plans get shortlisted. We have our experts who will be having a one-to-one interaction with the shortlisted candidates, because whatever you have submitted on the lesson plan template, it has to go along with what you explained to us. So the way you've actually implemented that particular lesson and the topic in the class, we will give you an opportunity to explain that to our experts. And on the day of the event, we want all the finalists. We don't know how many people are going to be awarded. We still don't know. It can be 10, it can be 20, it can be 100 also, depending upon the quality of the teaching pedagogies that we receive. But we would want each and every finalist to share his or her presentation on the day of the event on an open platform with the teachers from across the globe. That's the whole idea. Okay, so Indu, do we have any other question?
Yeah, there is one question from Deepthi Trivedi. What is the last date to participate?
Okay, so it is 20th of this month. You are still left with 4 days to go.
Okay, we have another question. This already has been answered. I'll just read out the question. This is from Purav. Is there any format to be followed? And Kavita, she's a pre-primary teacher. So can she participate?
Of course.
So I think this we have already answered.
Kavita, you can.
Yeah, we will go to the next question quickly. Mr. Anil Sagar. His question is, educators have transformed, but do you feel students have also, as this will be reflected in class 12th and 10th results?
Thank you so much, Mr. Anil Sagar, for posting this question, because this is going to be the theme for our next webinar. This is what we are going to talk about. Students have completely transformed, let me tell you. I have seen my own children. I have seen my relatives' children, my friends' children. I think the entire community has completely transformed. And the best thing that I have myself noticed is these students have started appreciating the efforts of the teachers. They can feel what the teachers have done for them. They've gone out of the way to help their learners ensure effective learning. Perfect. I think.
Can I just take 30 seconds? I'll just give out the dates.
Sure.
They can mark their calendars immediately. Yeah.
Yes,
last date you've just mentioned is 20th March. The shortlisted candidates will be informed by 8th of April. Interaction with the shortlisted candidates will be between 9th and 14th April. And the awardees will be informed by 17th of April. And of course, the culmination and the award ceremony in a conclave manner is on 21st of April, right? So you can mark your calendars accordingly.
Yes.
Aarti, if I can just add one question, I feel it's a little important and maybe it's a query from a lot of...
Hindu doesn't want any viewer to go back without
no.
Absolutely.
I feel it's a very important question.
But that's okay. Yeah.
There is a question. I had a job. Now I had to quit because this is a problem I think a lot of the teachers are facing. Am I eligible to apply?
Whose question is this?
This is Mansa.
Mansa, thank you so much for asking this question, because there are a lot of teachers like you, and this award, this recognition can give you that lost confidence. If you're planning to change your career, if you're planning to switch from one school to another school, I think this recognition is going to help you to prove what you've already done. So if you have already delivered a lesson, you are eligible to participate. Whether you taught 2 months ago or 5 months ago, in the last 1 year, you should have actually taught this lesson, the one that you're submitting to us. Just keep that in mind.
I think ultimately it boils down to, if you had a very challenging problem and you overcame it through your online class, then do submit your lesson plan.
Yeah.
That is innovation, right?
Absolutely.
Innovation is not creation, as Kanan ma'am said. It's just, finding a nice way of overcoming your problems.
Absolutely.
And I think all of them have innovated. All of them actually have innovated.
Each teacher has innovated.
Yeah.
Each teacher. In fact, I have been conducting a lot of trainings for the adults from across the world, and I know how much I have innovated. So every teacher, whether we taught the children or the adults, I think we all have gone out of the way and tried something new.
Absolutely.
Because we all had a common focus. We wanted to make that learning happen.
Yeah.
So, and as Jyoti mentioned, there are a lot of technological tools. So please, teachers, don't worry whether you've used the right tools, whether you've used enough technology. The whole idea is, are you satisfied with what you've done? If you are happy, if you are proud about how you made the learning happen, we are there to acknowledge your efforts. So thank you so much, everyone. I would like to thank all the panelists.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And all the best to all the educators.
And we are waiting to receive all your lesson plans, and we really want to read and see how much you have learned and innovated.
Right.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you all soon.
Thank you.